Over the last year or so, something really fundamental has started to change in the tech world. So let's just dive right in, because what we're talking about here is a potential total rewrite of how we make software, and it's all being kicked off by a new kind of AI.
And listen, this isn't just hype. This one sentence, man, it perfectly captures this deep sense of unease that's been creeping into boardrooms and dev teams everywhere. The big question suddenly became, what if AI stops being just a helper and starts becoming a substitute for really skilled people?
This whole wave of anxiety even got its own nickname, the SaaS apocalypse. So, what was the deal? What actually happened that made the entire market just stop and panic? Let's dig in.
Okay, so let's start at what you might call the scene of the crime. This is the moment the panic went public, right? When it rippled through the stock market and shook investor confidence right down to its foundations.
Now, what's so wild here is just how broad the impact was. I mean, it wasn't just some niche startup. We're talking about massive information companies like Thomson Reuters, the entire Indian IT outsourcing industry, even a titan like IBM. They all felt it. Investors basically flipped a switch in their heads. AI wasn't a productivity multiplier anymore. Suddenly, it was a substitute.
And this right here, this just shows you the scale of the panic. We are talking about a historic drop, one of the worst in decades for India's huge IT sector. So, this wasn't just a small dip. This was a signal of a really deep structural fear about what was coming for the software industry.
But here's the puzzle. For the longest time, the general thinking was that AI just wasn't ready for prime time. Everybody sort of believed that large language models, LLMs, had this fundamental, unbreakable ceiling on what they could do.
This was known as the LLM wall hypothesis. And the idea was pretty simple. No matter how gigantic you made these models, they'd always be just a little too flaky, too unreliable for the serious, high-stakes work of professional software engineering. I mean, in that world, reliability isn't just a nice-to-have, it's everything.
And everyone knew why. LLMs hallucinate, right? They just make stuff up. They'll silently leave out crucial details without any warning, and trying to figure out how they got an answer? Good luck. It's a total black box. So the whole idea that they could replace professional coders, it just seemed pretty far-fetched.
Which, of course, brings us to the main question. If LLMs had all these known, really critical flaws, what on earth changed? How did we get from unreliable toy to market-crashing threat seemingly overnight? Well, the answer wasn't what anyone expected. Turns out, the big breakthrough wasn't about building a smarter AI model at all. It was about building a smarter system to put the model inside.
And this is absolutely the key point. The goal wasn't just to make a bigger, better brain. It was to build it a proper nervous system, a whole environment that could govern it, discipline it, and most importantly, make what it produces actually reliable. This is the leap from what some people jokingly call vibe coding, which is, basically just asking an LLM to do something and hoping for the best, to what's now called verified autonomy. Instead of one big, unpredictable brain doing its thing, you now have an AI that's a part of a structured, observable, and genuinely trustworthy process.
So, how does this new breed of AI coder actually get the job done? Let's break down the anatomy of one of these new agentic systems.
So instead of just telling an AI to go write some code, these systems enforce a really strict, step-by-step workflow. It starts with something called Socratic planning, where the AI has to ask clarifying questions first. It has to write the tests before it can write the code. And then, and this is my favorite part, its work gets peer-reviewed by other AI agents. It's disciplined, but it's enforced by the system itself.
And the results? Well, they're kind of staggering. Practitioners started reporting success rates in the 75 to 80% range, even for pretty complex projects. This was no longer a toy. This was a system that could deliver real production-ready work.
Of course, this massive shift from a single rogue model to a governed system creates a whole new universe of challenges and opportunities. It really demands a completely new way of thinking about how we design software.
Just take a look at this comparison. It really lays out the fundamental shift. Traditional software is deterministic, right? It's all if this, then that. But these new agentic systems, they're probabilistic. They plan, they reason. And when they fail, it's not a simple crash. It's a weird hallucination or a logic loop. And maintaining them isn't about rewriting code anymore. It's about tweaking prompts and policies. It's a whole different skill set.
And even inside this new world, we're seeing a split. On one side, you have these beautifully handcrafted systems. They're like a white box where you can see all the inner workings, designed for maximum quality and control. Perfect for safety-critical stuff. But on the other side, you've got these black box super agents that are all about raw speed and autonomy. Awesome for research and knocking out prototypes.
So, where does all this leave us? Well, it all points to a new foundation for making software. One that isn't built on raw intelligence, but on something much, much more important.
And here it is. This is the core takeaway from this whole thing. The limit on what these AIs could do, it was never about their IQ. It was about our ability to manage them. By building systems of governance around them, verification, discipline, ways to watch them, we unlocked a level of capability that the models could never, ever reach on their own.
This quote just sums it all up perfectly. The race isn't about building the biggest, smartest model anymore. The real winners will be the ones who can design the most reliable, auditable, and trustworthy systems that put all that intelligence to good use.
Which leaves us with one final thought. We're moving from a world where we're just users of AI tools to a world where we're becoming supervisors of an autonomous digital workforce. So the question for all of us is pretty simple. What kind of supervisor are you going to be?